What's up, everybody? This is Tessa5th, and for today's video, I am going to be giving you my impressions of the Onimusha Way of the Sword demo that was not only announced during Summer Games Fest, but released on the same day as Summer Games Fest. And well, like a dog looking at a piece of steak, I had to hop on Steam and download the demo. Like, see, you hear that sound? That's the sound of my computer downloading the demo. Starting off, I want to highlight the main focus of this demo, which is pretty much the gameplay and combat. There's really nothing provided as far as the story other than, the provided context of where in the demo you are playing, which seems to be towards the beginning, right after you get the Oni Gauntlet. And of course, considering it is a demo, you have access to a lot of moves and stuff that more than likely is going to be obtainable through maybe like a skill tree or through upgrading using the demon souls that you can suck up in the game. And I can say that I really dig the stylistic choice in making sure that Musashi fights in the style of an actual samurai. With each sword attack, as you can see right here, I could feel the delay in the frames that were put into kind of giving the attacks much more of a weighted feel, in addition to Musashi's run also being pretty traditional in the way that a samurai would run. So I like that they went with a realistic choice with this Onimusha, which isn't really surprising because why would they not? Especially with this game sort of bringing the series out of its hiatus graveyard after 20, 30 some odd years. I can definitely see the influences of other games that have released throughout the years. It gives off a Souls-like feel, but yet still maintains its identity as Onimusha by not going too deep into Souls-like elements. Only Souls-like element that I've seen so far is once you rest at one of these shrines, which serves as a save point, the enemies do respawn. Yep. They come back. As far as the way that they are approaching Musashi's fighting style, you do have two attack buttons with X and Y, or square and triangle. What is unique to those two buttons is X or square is one-handed attacks and Y or triangle is two-handed attacks. You can actually use them to string along combos, and not only do they string along the combos, but you can actually visually see as you're inputting these buttons, you can see Musashi switching back and forth between his hand positioning as he's attacking. So for example, if you do a basic combo like XXY, you will see Musashi do one-handed attack into another one-handed attack into a two-handed attack. And it is just so refreshing to see that attention to detail is already showcased within this demo. But that is not the only cool thing as far as combat in this game, because there is a parry button and there is also a step dodge button. And if you evade at the very last attack of a swing, you get the lightning strike that was in previous Onimusha games. Game of the year! And I gotta say, even though what we expect to see in an Onimusha game as far as on the combat side of things is pretty not only typical, but is a breath of fresh air to see, improved and rehashed, there's quite a lot of other stuff when it comes to fighting the enemies in this game that is break up the fighting so that it can keep you on your P's and Q's, continuously keep you entertained. Like, for example, there's this mechanic where you and the enemy pretty much have a sword off, and in order to win it, you have to alternate between the last button that you press and then the current button that you press. Capcom really just wants to make sure that when it comes to gameplay, always making sure that it's keeping you on your P's and Q's, is always keeping you engaged. And I feel like that might be something that they low-key adopted from the Resident Evil games. As with Requiem, they've kind of been experimenting more as far as what the zombies can do, what the enemies can do. And I do feel like we are sort of getting that particular ideology spread across their other games like Onimusha, which is funny because Onimusha did start off as a Resident Evil clone, but with samurais. We have come full circle from being police officers to possessed samurais. This demo is roughly an hour, and it did feel like I explored enough of an area that it would take an hour. There's not much to do other than just fight. But I will say though, as far as the map providing in this game, as far as exploring, there does seem to be pockets in the map where there will be villages or settlements that do have, people that you can interact with. I can easily see there being side quests provided by certain people, as there have been side quests before in the series. I mean, even this one area alone felt pretty sizable to actually explore, especially with details in order to traverse to the next area, such as unlocking the Batman Arkham Detective mode, where pretty much you go into this like other heightened sense of sight thanks to the Oni Gauntlet, and you are able to find whatever is gatekeeping the next area from you. I remember the older Onimusha games, you had to use certain weapons. Speaking of weapons, there are what appears to possibly be various weapons that are powered by the spirit of the Oni, called Oni armaments, pre-made weapons that allow for you to do a special attack, and these special attacks provided by these Oni armaments does grant you a perk when successfully landed. So for example, in the demo, you only get these dual blades. What comes with using these twin daggers to attack, you are able to generate more Oni souls that restore your health. It seems like these weapons sort of serve more as like secondary accommodations rather than an actual swappable main weapon. But again, this is just a demo. Since this game is going for a realistic samurai vibe, perhaps you get the chance to swap out Musashi's default sword with a better sword or something like that. And of course, all of these elements climax at the final portion of the demo, which is the boss fight with Musashi's rival Sasaki Ganryu. I could not stop climaxing at just how fucking epic this battle was between Musashi and Ganryu. Specifically the way that they approached the boss battle. They really did a good job encapsulating what I really enjoy when it comes to boss fights in games that have like a sort of dancey type of element when it comes to one-on-one boss fights. You know, you can feel and see when you're supposed to attack, when you're supposed to retreat, when the boss is attacking, what particular animation is starting up to highlight what the boss is going to do. And then on top of that, even with this boss fight, there are interesting dynamics that come into play as far as like with the camera work, which I should have mentioned earlier, because the camera work in this game is really coming in clutch with emphasizing just how cool some of these attacks have been. Not only with just the boss fight, but even with the regular enemies. With the boss fight, it just makes the boss fight 10 times cooler. And what I really like about what they introduce in this boss fight is when you have the boss stunned at a particular moment or a particular instance in the fight, you can actually choose between which body part you want to strike, and depending on which one you choose to strike, you will get the perk that is associated with that body part. And I'm pretty sure that I chose the health bonus because I wasn't really using the Oni powers that much, and my Oni powers were already full. It just slipped my mind to not use them. But still, I got Ganryu on my first try. All in all though, I enjoyed the demo. I am definitely going to run this demo again before the full game comes out, because I definitely had a gay old time, no Flintstones, playing this demo. I knew it. I knew that was the end, and still, please, sire, might I have more of just a tiny crumb, please? But if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for still being here. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you are not a subscriber. And until the next video, stay safe, stay healthy, and go slay your neighborhood demon nearby. Peace.